Hello everybody, Stephanie with Sam Designs here, and today we're making some super adorable mitten door hangers. So first I've got this really cute fabric from Dollar Tree. They have all kinds of different little scraps of fabric wrapped up, and you can do different things with them. This one's more like a burlap, and I have been wanting to use this for Christmas because I love this aqua color for Christmas. So I am taking the burlap and doubling it over so I can cut two out of one. And I drew out the mitten on one of them, traced it out if you need to with a template, but I just hand drew mine. It's pretty simple to draw a mitten, but if you don't feel comfortable, you can take the little template that I've posted on my page and I can send that to you. And then I cut that out, and then I traced the same mittens onto felt, and I am going to cut around that. Now for this, you can use two sides of your fabric, or in my case, I wanted to make extra mittens and I only had one sheet of this burlap fabric with the aqua dots. So I use felt for the back. You can probably do either one, which is fine. So I just used the back of this just to save a little bit more of the fabric. And then what I did is I took the glue gun and just glued around the very edge, because you're going to want to leave the wrist part open because we're going to stuff it a little bit here in a minute with some polyfill. So just glue each side, all around the thumb. Make sure it's good and glued down. It's not the end of the world if you have a hole, because you can go back later. So then I took my polyfill, and you're just going to start with a little bit, and we're going to stuff it ever so slightly because you don't want it to get too thick. Otherwise, you're going to rip those seams. So we're just going to do a little bit just to give it a little bit of 3-dimension, just to give a little bit more, character and a little more thickness. And then you're going to do that to each one of them. And I used a sharper object. So I have my pencil and just like a glue stick, a dry glue stick there. That I just use. So you can really use anything to stuff this, or a pen, or I'm trying to use my finger a little bit, and that can work too. Just make sure again that the hole at the bottom is big enough so you can be able to work with it a little bit. And even if you want, you can take half of the mitten or most of the mitten and leave a bigger opening and then stuff it. So you can work with the stuffing a little bit easier if you want. That's always an option. And then you will close up your seam when you're done stuffing and start with your ribbon. So next I'm going to make a little ribbon detail on the wrist. You can do a few different options here. My first thought was I wanted to paint it, and then I have this cute little tassel ribbon, so I decided just to use this, and I like the white. I also have this in aqua, but I really like the white, or it's actually like a cream, like an off-white. And I'm doing 2 rows of it because I wanted extra tassels and I wanted it a little bit thicker. So I did the first row, and now I'm coming back and I'm doing the second row. And if you can see, I'm doing them every other so they can lay nicely. And so the few tassels will be spread out across the wrist. So I'm going to do the same thing for the other mitten. I've stuffed this and I've sewn this, and I'm going to do the same thing with the tassel. Now, if you're a seamstress and you like the look and you like to sew, this would be really cute if you took stitching around the edge. So that's always another option in any color or an aqua color, and just stitch the side, and you can even glue it and do the stitching as well, would be nice. Now for this next part, I am making a hole in the side of the mitten so I can use this hole punch so I can stick a piece of the twine through and be able to hang it. Now you can do one of two things. I wanted a door hanger, so I am going to take the twine and loop it around the back. I'm tying a knot so I can connect the other one to make a door hanger. You could do these individually and just make them as ornaments too, so that's your other option. But I'm going to use my hole punch again on this side, and this was a little bit tricky to get through both of the fabrics, so I'm using my scissor to push through that hole, and then just cut enough twine to make sure that you have it the right length, how you want it. And mine was about, I would say, 18 inches, and then I just tied it around the back. Now you could loop it all the way through and do a double loop, but I just looped it around the back and tied it 3 times in a knot just to hold it so it wouldn't go through that hole. And then I just tightened it up a little bit, and it was just strong enough to hang. These mittens are pretty light, so you don't need too strong of a knot, but I believe I did that 3 times on both sides, and then I cut off the excess. So now is time for decorating the front of your mittens, and this is where it's fun because with the ribbon and with the wrist accent detail, you can do so many different things. So for this one, I really liked the red in here with the aqua, and I used an artificial evergreen pine that I had off of one of my plants, my little foliage plants, and then I just am gluing that onto the front and sticking it next to it with red berries. And then I wanted to use one of these little bells because every time you open the door, you can have it jingle, and it's just so Christmassy for the holiday season. So I took some of these bells, and this was the perfect size that I found at Dollar Tree. And they even come with these cool little strings. So I cut about 8 inches and tied it around the mitten wrist and stuck the bell on, and then just tied it in the back. So you can do a couple different ways. I just was afraid that the bell would not stay on if I glued it. So I took advantage of the little string that it came with and tied it around the back. You could also use twines. That little opening is big enough to use twine if you don't want to use the silver. But this was nice, and it's actually working really well. As I open up my doors, I can hear the little bells, so it was just perfect. So then the other side, I'm going to do this one a little bit different, so they're not exactly the same. But I took another piece of artificial evergreen and I glued that on the front, and then I took a little pine cone just to give it a little bit of a different character than the other mitten. And then I went again and used the other piece of the red berry that I had, and this is artificial. So you could really use evergreen, artificial or real, and use it on your mittens. But I just am so happy with the way this turned out. They're so cute, and I actually did another set. So I hope that you can follow along and try it. Thanks for watching, and Merry Christmas.